2 News begins now.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Brandon T. Jones, and with the start of a new year, we're taking time to look back on some of the top stories of the past year here in the Inland Northwest. Here now is a look at some of the stories that made headlines in July of 2024.
Evacuation plans are on the minds of people here at the Keller Community Center as they watch the growth of 2 wildfires. David Neves lived in Keller, Washington his whole life, serving in Vietnam in 1970 and 71.
It's home. You know, it's for generations it's home.
A home that as of today is under level 2 evacuation status after Swawilla and Bridge Creek fires are continuing to grow, slowly making their way closer to Neves' community, a concern he's seen grown over the past couple of years.
The weather's been different and the fire behavior has been a lot different. There's a lot more fuel than there used to be out there on the forest floor. That difference led him, his friend beside him, Harold, and many others to attend a community meeting at the Keller Community Center, hosted by Northern Rockies Team 6, who are in charge of managing wildfires across Montana, Idaho, and Washington, and the rest of the country as requested.
This meeting's really designed for those folks that obviously might be a little more remote over here. They can see the smoke, they know that something's going on. So our intent is for those folks that live in this area get them up to speed as best we can.
Incident Commander Rich Cowger says the area is at risk for evacuating, as both fires are growing, with 0% containment reported as of now, with more than 3,000 acres burned from Bridge Creek and an estimated 20,000 from Swawilla.
They're building lines, they're defending homes, as we speak.
Homes that could be lost if the fire spreads.
The potential to lose homes is there, and I hate the thought of losing either one of the homes that I have.
Nee, like other Keller residents, is at the mercy of nature, as crews advise people leave early if evacuations make it to level 3 and to have a predetermined location in mind before leaving, making roads clear so first responders can do their job the best they can. Cowger says data on the containment of both wildfires will be available to the public over the next few days as crews continue to work. In Keller, Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Time's a precious thing for firefighters.
It's a fast-moving wildfire, especially one that's wind-driven. Seconds count.
And they put those seconds to good use, with crews on the ground and air support swooping in from above. But according to Ryan Roderick with the Washington State Department of Natural Resources, as crews tackled Sunday's fire by US 195 and Mullen Hill Road, air support stayed on the ground even longer, thanks to one of these. DNR says a private drone delayed their use of air support.
We cannot fly when drones are in the airspace. Thankfully, it was just a very brief delay until that drone was able to be cleared, but in wildfire, seconds matter.
Roderick says having a drone in the air at the same time as their planes and helicopters is a safety issue.
There is the potential that drone could impact into one of the engines. It is a very, very serious safety concern.
One they're seeing more and more often. An unfortunate development, according to Roderick, considering how efficient air units are with fighting fires.
It's extremely successful when we put air on these fires. We know that for wildfires, if we can keep them to 10 acres or less, the chances of them turning into a catastrophic wildfire decrease exponentially.
So when a fire starts, DNR says one of the best things the public can do is leave the drone at home.
It is July. We still have a lot of fire season left.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 Plus Year in Review. I'm Brandon T. Jones, and right now we're looking back at some of the top stories of 2024. Join us as we go month by month through the year's headlines. Right now, we want to take a look at some of the stories that made news in August.
A month after Washington's first case of chronic wasting disease was discovered in North Spokane County, the Department of Fish and Wildlife is enacting new emergency rules. Most of the new requirements are in 3 game management units: Micah Peak, Cheney, and Mount Spokane. Hunters and salvagers in these areas will be required to send in samples of any deer, elk, or moose.
Either submit the whole head of the harvested animal
or to extract the lymph nodes at the base of the skull.
And Donnie Martorello says it'll also be illegal to bait the animals for hunting, including using scent.
Anything we can to reduce that drawing these animals together.
Another rule impacts the blue area of this map for anyone who kills or salvages an animal.
Carcasses and the bones from any deer, elk, or moose that are derived from any 100 series GMUs stay within those 100 series GMUs. They cannot transport through or exit.
Here in North Idaho, a 9-day surveillance hunt starts Saturday as Idaho Fish and Game investigates the first case of chronic wasting disease detected in Boundary County.
We're very concerned about it.
The Boundary County hunt is in this small area of Unit 1. 300 hunters who purchase the special permits will be allowed to hunt here in hopes of gaining 200 samples to track the disease.
The purpose of this is really to get hunter feedback on the extent of the disease on the landscape up there, what its distribution is right now, and then also importantly, the prevalence rate.
Washington is already looking ahead to lasting changes.
This is just a starting point. We will take this up with the Fish and Wildlife Commission and have a more comprehensive public involvement process.
A meeting date to discuss making the rules permanent has not yet been set. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
These Spokane County patrol cars are starting to catch people's attention, mostly because of the cameras mounted on top. They're not Google Earth cars, so what do? Well, they're mobile camera systems that help deter crime across the county and save taxpayer dollars.
The Spokane County Sheriff's Office has found a way to get more eyes on the streets, but they're not uniformed eyes.
It's a retired vehicle that isn't being used in patrol anymore.
And they're watching 24 hours a day. A mobile camera system mounted on top uses multiple eyes to keep watch of the neighborhood they're stationed in. The solar technology allows them to remain in the field for about 40 days, while the camera feeds are monitored here when needed at the county's real-time crime center.
It allows us to, potentially collect evidence in high crime areas. It allows us to use ALPR technology to help us solve crimes.
Sheriff John Knowles is talking about automated license plate readers. It's a system that alerts law enforcement of vehicles of interest.
It's like having a cop sitting on the street corner that recognizes every car that goes by, but has a perfect memory of every stolen vehicle or every vehicle of interest in their brain and can automatically pick it out and identify it.
In May, the ALPR system helped deputies track down a burglary suspect. Investigators identified the suspect car as a gray Porsche, and the owner was a 15-time convicted felon. The system spotted the Porsche in Liberty Lake and alerted deputies. Then they searched the area and arrested the suspect during a traffic stop. The same system helped Spokane police locate a suspect in a June drive-by shooting.
It is really helping us have a significant impact on not only violent crime cases, but also in vehicle theft cases.
This parking lot is being recorded.
The mobile camera system is similar to these trailers, which run about $80,000 apiece. But some resourceful staff in the sheriff's office found a way to build the same setup for only $15,000.
That's got to make some taxpayer ears perk up.
It is, and I'm so proud of the employees who put that together, who took the initiative and said, we think we can do this.
The sheriff says it all adds up to more eyes on the street to help prevent crime.
The sheriff's office currently has 2 of these mobile camera systems deployed across the county. They expect to have 2 more in the near future. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
I'm Brandon T. Jones, and thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus for our year in review. We've been taking a look back at some of the big news stories from the past year in the Inland Northwest. We've now reached the month of September. Let's take a look back at some of the headlines.
Yeah, I did get an update from fire officials. Now, I did arrive several hours ago, and I will describe what exactly I saw when I first got here, but let me show you what it's looking like as of right now. As you can see, the Wolf Lodge has completely been burned down to the ground, and you can see all around the lodge as well, there is a bunch of charred ground from the fire that kind of came up and spread out to the nearby wildlife area. Now, it is important to note that today the Wolf Lodge was closed for customers. However, a worker here says that every Labor Day, the owner throws a barbecue for their staff and their families as well. The fire chief for Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, Christopher Wade, tells me that at this point, crews aren't sure what started the fire, but that they will be here monitoring the scene for hours. Now, when firefighters arrived on scene, they said they saw flames both in the chimney of the restaurant and in the attic. Now, this fire has 11 different fire organizations responding to it, as well as over 9 different water tenders to get water from Lake Coeur d'Alene, since there are no fire hydrants on site. Now, there was a small wildfire in the wooded areas, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, around the steakhouse, but crews have contained it at this time, and the steakhouse itself, though, has been destroyed. Now, I had a chance to talk with Travis Anderson, who has worked at the Wolf Lodge Steakhouse for over 20 years. He says that the loss of this historic location is going to be felt by the community for a very long time.
I'm devastated, tragic. Me personally, I think I'm still in shock. When I first got there, before they kind of put the block off, there was a lot of crying and tears and just, disbelief that it was actually happening. And then, yeah, it was hard to watch. Something I kind of wish I didn't really get to witness, to be honest with you.
As fire crews continue to work, they ask that people stay out of the area, especially because people have been nearly hit on I-90 trying to take pictures of the damage. But like I said earlier, fire crews will remain on site for the next couple hours to make sure that there aren't any flare-ups here in the area. Live in Coeur d'Alene, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
Well, here at the Wolf Lodge, the property is now fenced off as the state fire marshal's office investigates what caused this fire. Now, it'll take a few days before we learn the official cause, but at this point, officials say it appears to be accidental.
Several fire agencies gave it their all to save this iconic Western steakhouse. The Wolf Lodge stood for more than 85 years. But what seemed like an instant, the Wolf Lodge Steakhouse is now gone.
It's very, very sad.
The years of memories in this special place are now piles of char and ash.
A lot of history there that went up in flames and that can never be retrieved.
It's that history that brought longtime customers back here throughout the day to catch a glimpse of what's left.
Just wanted to see what happened.
Customers like Julie Bauman are stunned by the still smoldering debris.
It's so unbelievable how it collapsed.
It's not an easy sight to take in, and certainly one that will take some time to mourn.
I don't think you ever get closure.
The State Fire Marshal's office is investigating the cause of the fire. They took photos and videos of the property and later began moving debris to find the fire's origin. Kootenai County Fire and Rescue Chief Chris Way says all this information will help investigators piece together what happened here.
So they're trying to kind of gauge a timeline of kind of how the fire progressed and where the fire was by the time 911 was already called.
Chief Way says Wolf Lodge was not open to the public the day of the fire. He says management was hosting their annual appreciation barbecue for its staff. The owners aren't ready to speak publicly, but they've thanked the community for its support online.
I hope everything turns out for the best for them.
Among the lost memories here, a piece of beauty now stands out among the debris, flowers left by a heartbroken server.
And here is a closer look at those flowers this evening. They're just a simple piece of love here among the heartbreak at Wolf Lodge. Now, we do know the assistant manager suffered second-degree burns in this fire. We learned this afternoon, though, that they have been released from the hospital and are recovering. Amanda Rolby, KREM 2 News.
Now, we don't know a lot of information at this time because crews are still on scene investigating. 2 people are in critical condition tonight and 2 more people are believed to be missing and presumed dead inside of the gas station. This is what is left after that gas station exploded on Highway 11 in Clearwater County in north central Idaho. A call came in on Wednesday reporting the explosion at around 3 in the afternoon. A fuel tanker was offloading fuel at the station when the explosion happened, according to a trucking official, but it isn't yet known what caused the explosion. Now, we have been on scene for the last couple of hours, but when we got here, the fire looked like it was out. Multiple agencies are on scene at this time investigating, including the Idaho State Fire Marshal's Office and the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agents. Clearwater County Sheriff's Office says that the 2 people burned were transported by helicopter to a Seattle hospital and are in critical condition. As we mentioned, it's believed that there may be more people inside of the building as well. We'll keep monitoring the story as it develops and bring you the very latest. In Clearwater County, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
The change of venue comes after a judge stated Coburger's more likely to receive a fair trial in Ada County than in Latah County due to extensive media coverage and Ada County having more resources. Our sister station in Boise confirmed his arrival at the Pullman-Moscow Airport as well as at the Ada County Jail. This relocation is something Coburger's defense teams fought for, expressing concern that an impartial jury wouldn't be possible in Latah County. Prosecutors opposed the switch, saying the change of location creates an inconvenience of enforcing attorneys, witnesses, and families of the victims to travel to a different area. I spoke with former Idaho Attorney General David Leroy about the cost and overall logistics in relocating all parties involved, and he says it's the responsibility of the former and current trial location.
Ada County will contribute in some sense the site and some security personnel. There may be something about which the county here incurs an expense that they ask for reimbursement by Latah County. But for the most part, this will be a collaboration between the 2 counties.
Leroy also says the trial will be continuing from where it was last left in Latah County under 4th District Judge Stephen Hippler. Coburger will remain in the Ada County Jail until his trial that is scheduled for June of 2025. Coburger's initial arrest in 2022 occurred 6 weeks after the killings. The prosecution is seeking the death penalty if he is found guilty of the murders. In studio, Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Well, that is exactly the word that keeps coming up with this one, rare. In fact, a case of plague has only been seen in deer 5 times ever before this most recent one. Washington State University pathologists made the confirmation this week. Idaho's first case of plague found in a deer in central Idaho's Custer County.
This is kind of one of those rare cases that sometimes these things just happen. And it's just, I think it was also noted in the press release, very rare that they even found this animal.
Idaho Fish and Game says the infected animal was discovered on private property in June. Once the positive tests came back, everyone who had contact was tested. Roger Phillips says those tests, including for the landowner's dog, came back negative.
And we also saw no evidence of any other animals in the area that may have contracted plague.
The plague itself isn't exactly rare in the western U.S.
It's kind of somewhere on the fence between common and uncommon, because every couple of years in southern Idaho, we have plague outbreaks, usually in ground squirrel populations. Pick a number, 1.5 to 2 years, it pops back up again. But we actually have had people contract the plague. It is treatable, but that's extremely rare too.
In deer, the disease causes lesions that lead to blindness, which is why it's unusual a person would even find an infected deer. They're likely to become prey pretty quickly.
This is something that Mother Nature kind of cleans up on its own.
That's why WSU's Veterinary College says it could be hard to figure out just how widespread the plague may be in deer populations. But Phillips says it is unlikely this will have much impact on larger populations or even on your hunting season.
If there was more, we would probably have found out about it by now. This has been months gone by. Kind of our standard answer to that is for hunters is if you see an animal that's obviously sick, don't shoot it, just report it.
Now, Phillips says reports from people who spot sick deer or elk do actually help. Along with the state's surveillance sampling for chronic wasting disease, it can tip them off to larger issues much more quickly. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Spokane City Council member Zach Sapone sponsored a written letter to Governor Inslee, as well as the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Energy, expressing concerns about transporting radioactive chemicals. The city says plans are made to send 2,000 gallons through Spokane after its original route through Oregon caused its state government to express environmental concerns. The worry being once that route happens, more shipments could continue and grow into millions. In a letter from Mayor Lisa Brown to Governor Inslee and other state and federal representatives, she says a potential precedent of this plan could hurt communities across the city with possible contamination. Spokane City Council member Zach Sapone agrees, sponsoring a letter from City Council to Governor Inslee, as well as the EPA Regional Administrator on the transport and how the risk of contamination is something to be mindful of in Spokane.
A large number of people that are densely surrounding the train tracks or the freeway, Interstate 90. And so that is the center and heart of our community.
The route travels to disposal facilities in Clive, Utah and Andrews, Texas, making its way through Spokane after Oregon expressed concerns about risks in their communities.
Seems like we're going out of the way to put more people at risk rather than a more direct way which would have fewer people at risk.
But Sapone says the letter from City Council emphasizes support for alternative solutions to moving the chemicals, including turning the chemicals to a solid form, which he, as well as other city leaders, believe would be a safer alternative for getting the chemicals where they need to go, saying work needs to be done to make efforts safer.
There hasn't been an environmental impact assessment or an update to that, and so this is really asking them to complete that environmental impact assessment, and so we know the full potential risks and efforts.
At their meeting on Monday, City Council will vote to add their signatures to the letter before sending it to its recipients. This is an ongoing story. We'll continue following as we learn more information. In studio, Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
There are still a lot more months of news ahead. Keep it here on KREM 2 Plus to see the rest of the year in review. And don't forget, you can get some of the latest news and weather anytime here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look out for our most recent newscasts and the videos at the bottom of your screen. I'm Brandon T. Jones. Thanks for watching.